It's good, Rob. You can do it.
Morning, Desi.
Good morning, Pavitra. Good morning, Keith, Darrow, and Kyle. Your room looks familiar there, guys.
Just the 7th floor conference room.
It's north. Exhale. What is going in future? Transfer the, I was added to the inside.
Good morning. Give it a couple of minutes, Mr. Chair, and then get started. It's 9:31. We get started at 9:33. Would that be okay to allow people to trickle in?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. Sounds
Just a
good.
reminder for everyone to have your cameras on as well, please, as you guys log in. Thank you.
It's 9:33, Mr. Chair, and we could get the meeting started and then go through the roll call and instructions and everything. So I turn it over to you to call the meeting to order.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our virtual meeting for TTAC for February 2026. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And we will go ahead and get started with introductions. Pavitra, how would you like to handle that? Would HRTPO staff like to go first, then you guys go down the list?
Sure. But before we do, we just thought it'd be a quick reminder of the email we sent out. We will start the meeting with doing a roll call to make sure we have quorum. And then we ask that you keep your cameras on throughout the meeting. It's not a TPO requirement, it's a state requirement. So please keep your cameras on. If not, your presence does not count. The other thing I would ask is if you're making a motion, please raise your hand. When the chair calls on you, we ask that you please mention your name and your locality. And of course, when you're done speaking, please turn off your microphone so the others on the call don't get interrupted with external noises. So again, we sent this a couple of times. I'm sorry to mention it the third time, but it never hurts since it's been a minute since we had a virtual TTAC meeting. With that, Keith, do you want to so with introductions from our end, I know many of you have seen Jeffrey Discala. He's on the call. He's been with us for a year, but the reason I want to introduce him is he is going to, especially for our transit agencies, he is going to be reaching out and following up any on the grants or any of our administrative. He's helping Jeff Reliski. So if you see email, it's from another Jeff, please do not ignore. He's on the PDC TPO, and I wanted to make sure everyone saw him. Since it's a virtual and you're all on camera, this is an opportunity for him to get to meet all of you as well. So that's the introductions from the TPO. Maybe we open it up to see if anybody has any introductions that they would like to make. Maybe they raise their hand and then we can call them there, Mr. Chair. Don't think I see any. Oh, I see Desi, Mr. Chair.
Mitra, Marcella Giraldo is with me. She's a voting member, but we also have on the call Madison Scaff, who is on a different.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you so much. With that, Mr. Chair, I think we can do a roll call and get the quorum. So I'm going to be reading out the names. So if it's from your locality, so please let us know if you're on the call, and please turn on your cameras. So I'm going to go down by locality. Chesapeake, do we have Enzo Lundy on the call?
Present.
Perfect. Tracy Jones Schoenfield from Chesapeake.
Present.
Okay. Gloucester, Carolyn Rizio.
Present.
Okay. And Ducey Ortiz. Okay. Brian Lewis. Okay. Hampton, Stephanie. Okay. Michael Borey.
Here.
Okay. Quinn Heinrich. Okay. Isle of Wight, Julie
Present.
Boswell. Okay.
Present.
Jamie Oliver.
Yes, but Pavitra, I'm having some technical difficulties, so I am probably not going to end up voting today. We have other staff here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. But I did see you on camera, so that's good. For now, we are counting you as present. Amy Ring.
Present.
Perfect. Thank you. James City County, Paul Holt.
I'm here. Good morning, everybody.
Okay. Tammy Rosario. Okay. Is Tom on the call from James City County? Okay, no. Newport News, Angela Rico.
Present.
Perfect. Angela Hopkins.
Present.
Brian Stilley.
Hello, this is Lisa Frankenberger. I'm filling in for Brian.
Okay. Let Keith get that. Okay, Norfolk, the chair is here.
Here.
Kyle,
Present.
Francis.
Hi, this is
Okay.
Ashley Blue. I'll be filling in for Francis, I believe.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Pecosin, Laura. Sean Crawford. Wally Horton. Okay. Holt Smith, James Wright. Did I hear Eugene? Are you filling in for?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so is Rhonda Russell there? On the call from Portsmouth? Okay, so Southampton, Brian Thrower. Regan Prince. Lynette Lowe. Okay, Suffolk, Greg Benton.
Present.
Okay. Jason Saunders.
Good morning, President.
Okay, then I believe it's Virginia Beach. And again, a reminder, please keep your cameras on. We have staff also checking in case you do not have it on, so it doesn't pop up for us. So if you please keep it on, that'd be appreciated. Virginia Beach, Rick Lohman.
I'm here.
Hank Morrison,
Present.
David Jarman,
Present.
Williamsburg, Jamie Clark. Okay, Tavia Griffin.
It's just me today.
Okay, perfect. So Thomas is not here, right, Tavia?
Correct.
Okay. York, I know. Madison.
She's here.
Okay, can she turn her camera on if she is going to be counted as does she have a camera option, Madison?
She does.
Okay, can you please turn it on then?
I'm not a voting member, actually. I'm just here as a guest.
Okay, so Marcella Giraldo.
Here.
Okay, Desi.
Here. Present.
Thank you. Hampton Roads Transit, Karen Kitsis.
Here.
Wada Ben Goodell.
I'm here. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you, Ben. DRPT, Dan Sonnenklar.
Morning, Pavitra. It's Tiffany Dubinsky instead of
Okay.
Dan.
Thank you. VDOT, Dinah Oliver.
Here, good morning.
Thanks, Dinah. Sonia Hallam Sponton.
Present.
Thank you. Angela Effa Emponsa.
Present.
Okay, from the port, Chris Gullickson.
Present.
Okay, non-voting, do we have anyone from Federal Highway?
Hey, good morning, Pavitra. This is Kara Greathouse.
Thank you, Kara. FTA, Melissa McGill. US Navy, Joe Howell.
Present.
Perfect. Did we miss anybody on this call that are there, but we did not get a chance to get you to introduce yourself? Is there someone that we missed?
Good morning. This is Alan Machette, City of Suffolk, non-voting member.
Okay. Perfect. Keith, how are we doing in terms of a quorum?
We have a quorum.
Perfect. Thank you. With that, I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Awesome. Thank you, Bethra. Thank you guys for powering through that and taking those notes, Keith. Appreciate that. First item and action we've got is the approval of the agenda. So hopefully you guys had a chance to review that digitally. Thank you. And if I can get a motion, just as a reminder, thank you, Angela. I'll let you go ahead and call for the motion.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
Second, Carol.
Carol? Perfect. Thank you, Carol. It's exactly how we need to do that. Thank you, guys. Make it nice and easy. Moving on, all in favor? I guess, do we do thumbs up to that throw? What's the best way to everyone just unmute?
Unmute and say,
Voice
yeah.
vote.
Voice vote is
Aye.
good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda passes. We'll move on to the next item. Public comments, item number 4. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to raise their hand and make a comment? All right, seeing none pop up, we'll move on to item 5. Comments from our state and federal and military liaisons. Sonia, I'll kick it off with you with VDOT first, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. So right now we are prepping for the Smart Scale pre-application cycle. That will start on March 2nd and it will end on April 1st at 5 p.m. You all should have received an email regarding registration for pre-application training. That will be held on February 24th from 2 to 4 p.m. If you're unable to make that, a recording will be available. VDOT has also been preparing for Smart Scale Round 7 applications. We've had meetings with several localities. If you have any questions regarding those meetings, or if you didn't have an opportunity to meet with the planning team, please reach out to Angela or Jerry Pauley. I forgot to mention that if you didn't receive the email regarding the registration for the Smart Scale pre-application training, that link is available on the Smart Scale website. But if you still have issues, you can reach out to me or Angela. And that's all I have this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Anyone from FHWA? All
Kara
right.
Great has FHWA, no updates
There
from
we go.
FHWA.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that, Kara. Trying to remember the list here. HRT, or DRP, DRPT.
DRPT.
Yeah, DRPT. Thank you, Heather.
It's all good. Just a couple of items for the group for this morning. First, we have just finished our grant application submission. It ended as of February 1st. Just as a reminder for the MPO staff, though, that our 5303 applications are still available with a submission date by May 1st. I do not have any updates yet on the allocations for FY27 for 5303. So with the partial government shutdown right now, I'm not sure when I can have that anticipated. But once we have some timeframes, I'll be able to communicate that to staff accordingly. Besides that, I know I mentioned at last month's or the last meeting that we had our new director, Maria Zimmerman, join us at DRPT. And since then, we have also had our chief deputy director, Alan Fye. He has started actually just on Monday. So he will be working very closely with my team on transit as well as with rail and a little bit on communications. So you will see a lot of those two. I believe, Pavitra, for your knowledge, Maria will be joining the VAMPO board meeting. So she'll be providing some remarks at the board of directors meeting that's coming up. Besides that, I do want to make note that we are close to finishing our 2026 Coordinated Human Service Mobility Plan. That is going to be released on February 17th. We do have on the plan website an executive summary for anyone who is curious, and I can provide that as part of my update notes. But I just want to promote that for all of our MPOs that we do have an update for our plan that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. And then I am encouraged to keep reminding all of our MPO and partners that our statewide rail plan is starting work, and there will be engagement that is going to be beginning probably around either this month or next month. We're working with our rail planning staff to update contacts for our MPOs, PDCs, as well as other stakeholders. And so as that effort begins, you'll probably hear from either Randy Selleck or Taylor Holden from DRPT. And I know that VDOT already covered Smart Scale. So again, if you have any inquiries, appreciate those who reached out after last month's meeting. And I believe that's all I have for my update. So be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. All right, moving on, the port. Chris, do you have any updates for us?
Just make a quick comment. Just maybe some people read it this morning, but the port did announce yesterday we did finish commissioning 4 new ship-to-shore cranes at Norfolk International Terminals. That gives us a total of 4 ultra-large container berths between VIG and NIT. So that's fairly significant when we look along the East Coast and other competing ports. We have a level of capacity that other ports wish they had. And so for the benefit of Virginia, obviously we look to continue to be that big ship ready port, and we'll continue to see hopefully the volume reflect the infrastructure capacity that we continue to bring online, both on time and on budget. So just want to make that quick update. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Chris. Great news. Let's see. Am I missing anyone else, Pavitra, on the list?
Yeah, we need to call on the military.
Oh, yep, thank you. Anyone from the military have any updates for us? All right, hearing none, we'll keep on moving here. Item 6, election of officer. We have a candidate for vice chair. Mr. Jarman, would you like to make that introduction or talk a little bit about that at all, or I'm putting you on the spot there?
Thanks, Keith. I know it's been lonely up there at the top, but we had to go an extra month. So we were, after an extensive search and conversation there, Karen Kitsis has agreed with HRT, has agreed to be our vice chair for the 2026 year. So I'm assuming we need to make a motion for this, right? So we can vote, right?
Yes,
yeah. So I'll make the motion that Karen will be nominated as the vice chair for the 2026 TTAC year.
Thank you, Dave. Do I have a second? Angelo?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, all in favor of Karen Kitsis being vice chair?
Aye.
Definitely aye. Any opposed? All right, welcome aboard, Karen. Glad to have you up here.
Thank you. I appreciate the honor after the extensive search. So thank you. I'm excited to work with y'all.
Likewise. All right, next item, item 7, approval of consent items. I got them all listed there in the agenda or in the packet there, the agenda packet. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to review that. And with that, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent items. Carol?
Sorry, motion to approve?
Thank you. Second? There. Oops, someone popped
I
up.
think it's York. York raised their hands.
Saw Desi.
Okay. There we go. Got our second from Desi. Thank you, Desi. All in favor for the approval of the consent items?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? All right, consent items approved. Moving on into our presentations. Now we have Mr. Briggs here to present on the military power projection platform route study. Mr. Briggs, there we go. All right, I'll go ahead and turn it on over to you, sir.
Hey, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, great. Today's presentation is going to be on the Group 6 power projection platform route studies. We're going to be kind of leading it as a team, so I have a couple of colleagues that are going to join me. And first is going to introduce Lewis Grimm. You want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. This is Lewis Grimm. I'm an engineer with Federal Highway Administration. I'm the planning team leader for the Eastern Federal Lands Highway Division Office, located in Ashburn, Virginia. We're one of the 3 multi-state division offices for the Office of Federal Lands Highways, which provide a full range of support services to any federal land management agencies anywhere in the country, including the Department of Defense, Department of War. Have been involved with this series of activities for these power projection platform projects since the studies began in 2018. And I'm currently serving as the contract and officers representative on this group of the last 3, with the Joint Base Langley Eustis being one of those 3. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lewis. And we're also being joined by Carol Collins with Kimley Horn. So Carol, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Doug. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carol Collins. I'm a transportation planner with Kimley Horn and Associates. I'm based out of our Tampa office and serving as the project manager for the Group 6 power projection platform route study.
All right, thanks, Carol. Lewis, why don't you go ahead and lead us in the next couple of slides?
All right, I can do that. So Carol, you want to flip over to the next slide? Thank you. So we're going through our introductions. And by way of background, the power projection platform route studies is something that has been initiated in 2018, outreach by U.S. Transportation Command to the Federal Highway Administration, both federal lands highways to say we have a group of major installations around the country, 18 in total. We'd like to have an examination made of the highway corridors connecting those military installations to their designated seaports of embarkation to see if those routes are capable of moving the materiel, the equipment, should there be a need to do so. So this has been kind of a joint activity since 2018 involving U.S. Transcom basically as our client. Through that, the Highways for National Defense, the unit that Doug is the manager of, and a series of 18 power projection platform studies. The graphic shown there on the illustration is a guide that was put together jointly by Federal Highway Administration and the, at that time, Surface Deployment Distribution Command, now RTRANS, back in 2005. Basically as a coordination document to say, well, here's what you at the state, local agency level, at the port side, need to be aware of when there's a major military deployment, how you go through that process. I'd note this guide is in the process of being updated right now, and we hope to have a new version of it published sometime later this year. Second point here on the JBLE, Joint Base Langley-Eustis. This is one of the 18 power projection platform route studies that are being done. We broke them up into groups of multiple studies. This last group is 3 of those for Fort Eustis, for Joint Base McGuire, Dix Lakehurst, New Jersey, going to the Port of Philadelphia, and for Fort Drum, New York, going to the Port of Philadelphia. All 3 of those assignments are being done in a parallel basis. Technical assistance being provided by Kimley Horn and Associates under Carroll. So the basic intent of this activity is to do an independent assessment of each of these routes, look at the needs, equipment, movement capabilities, what's happening on the road system, what's happening in the ports, see if there are any delays that might occur. Go to the next graphic here quickly. Next slide. And so now I will pull back one. That's where I leave it here. This is where I'll do my transition over to Doug, who will kind of give a little bit more of the background of how these evolved, how the power production platform routes relate to the larger National Strategic Highway Network. And Doug Briggs, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, Louis. Hey, good morning, everyone. I may have forgot to introduce myself. My name's Doug Briggs. I'm an engineer. I manage a program, as Louis talked about, Highways for National Defense. And we represent a larger command called U.S. Transportation Command. We're actually located at Scott Air Force Base, which is in Illinois, right outside of St. Louis. But Transcom is the combatant command that's solely responsible for all the logistics of Department of War movements. And as Louis alluded to, moving convoys to important places like strategic seaports like Port of Virginia. Because what's kind of unique about us is that, because the military, we don't own the highways or the railroads or the seaports, but we rely heavily upon those transportation networks to move vast, large amounts of military equipment to any place around the world. So Department of War recognized that and said, all right, U.S. Transcom, you're responsible for making sure that those networks are in a status that can, meet the military needs whenever, wherever. So they kind of developed these programs for national defense, like Highways for National Defense. We also have a Railroads for National Defense, as well as Ports for National Defense. And our jobs are mainly to act on behalf of the Department of War to make sure to reach out to those agencies, those authorities that are responsible for those networks, to ensure that they are aware of our military needs. Hence, what we're here to talk today is the Power Projection Platform route studies. PPP route studies, if you look at the map, we have 18 military bases represented by the green dots around the U.S. that likely will move large military units and equipment to what we call strategic seaports. Those are represented by the blue diamonds that you see on the map. But linking those two items are two origin destinations is what we call the PPP routes. It's about 5,500 miles of highway that link those installations with the ports. Granted, for the military, we move most of our stuff by railroad, the large, oversized, overweight equipment. But, we recognize that, in times of national emergencies, we're going to expect moving military equipment here in the U.S. in a contested environment. And we need to ensure that all modes of transportation are available, including the highways, to move in military equipment. So the study purpose, we really have three major goals for these studies. One is to validate the route. What we think is the route link heading down to the port may be very different from what is actual. In many cases, for instance, we found in California, we have Camp Pendleton. We thought they went to San Diego. It turns out they actually go to a place called Los Angeles, to Port Hueneme. So it's through these studies that we're able to find valuable information. In other cases, Nashville for Fort Campbell, we thought they took a certain interstate and found out that it's better if they take an alternate route around the city of Nashville. So it's stuff like that we find that validating of the route is the best way for the military's convoys to head down to the ports. The second goal is really communication. We find that in our PPP route studies, we coordinate with the state DOTs, MPOs, many different organizations in these studies and we find that, communication between the installations and the local road authorities is just, it's not there. So we find that, in the event that if an installation like Fort Eustis is going to be sending, a lot of vehicles down to Port of Virginia, it's good for them to understand who they need to contact on outside the fence to let them know that, these convoys are going to be heading down to the port. And lastly is, the findings. Are there hotspots? Are there bridges? Are there congested areas? A lot of our studies are really to kind of find out, what are the issues that our convoys can expect. And that's also very important that, in future, that we can work with the state DOTs, in this case VDOT, or local MPOs to try and improve that route to ensure that the convoys can get to the port in a timely fashion. So that in a nutshell is really kind of what the study is really kind of focused on. As Louis mentioned, we started this back in 2019. 18 of the PPPs were now in the final stages of completing, and it's been a really great working relationship with a lot of the state DOTs and MPOs during these studies. Next slide, please. So just kind of give you an understanding of the phases of how we conduct these studies. We start with the initial phase. That's, to reach out to the major parties involved in the studies. We speak with FHWA, state division offices, the state DOTs, MPOs, the particular military bases, trying to, let them know, the intent of the study. It really kind of helps for, for future meetings that's required. Phase two, that's where we kind of ask for road data, bridge data, congestion data, pavement data, all that information that's available that our contractors can take a look at and do an analysis of, on what our convoys can expect, where the hotspots, where our delays going to be. Should we do something different in convoy operations to avoid, like major congestion areas? So it's stuff like that that we achieved during the phase 2. And then phase 3, which is where we are currently with the current Group 6 PPP route studies, it's our opportunity to kind of talk about with the state DOTs, with the MPOs, this is what we see. And, do you see something different? Should we change something? This is kind of our opportunity to, get party feedback on the findings that we found. So kind of that's overall, phases of the study. It's approximately takes us about a, good 8 to 12 months to achieve, to start the project and end up with the final study. But overall, it's a really great way to kind of build those communications with state DOTs and MPOs. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Carol Collins with Kimberly Horn, who's going to kind of walk you through the route for joint base lane of uses. Carol?
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, just real quick, going to touch on the route itself. As Lewis had mentioned, Fort Eustis is one of 3 PPP routes that we're looking at as a part of Group 6. And with Fort Eustis and travel to the Port of Virginia, we're primarily focused on Newport News Marine Terminal and the Portsmouth Marine Terminal as it relates to the seaports of embarkation, primarily because what we're looking at here are the wheeled vehicles, the road vehicles that would use the public roadway infrastructure to get between Fort Eustis and either of the 2 port facilities. And essentially the length of the route between Fort Eustis and Newport News Marine Terminal is 21 miles, and that route basically doubles when the decision is made to go to the Portsmouth Marine Terminal. VIG does get used by the military, and I'll say Fort Eustis in particular, but it's primarily container freight that they're relying on VIG for any of their movements there. Just from an access standpoint, when it comes to Fort Eustis and movements, they've got two gates, and essentially, if you're familiar with it, there's the main gate right off Fort Eustis Boulevard. That gates would be used for any deployment activity, inbound, outbound, military vehicles, but it also supports, day-to-day soldiers coming in and out of work, civilian employees, as well as commercial freight, and it supports their visitor access. And then just in addition to that, between going out of the gate right there to Fort Eustis Boulevard, some of y'all may be familiar with it, but Fort Eustis Boulevard also provides that direct point of access over to 64, which is a primary, section that's relied upon by Fort Eustis to get to the 2 ports. And then from there, essentially, if it's Newport News Marine Terminal, we'll touch on a little bit, they're using 664 to get to Newport News Marine Terminal. And then there's a US Route 17 and then James River Bridge when we're going to Portsmouth. And Doug touched on it a little bit. So there are seaports of embarkation, but in addition to military movements, there's also the consideration of aerial ports of embarkation. Langley Air Force Base serves as that aerial port of embarkation for Fort Eustis. This right here is really just to give you a general idea of what that route looks like. It's approximately 17 miles in length between the 2 military installations, and just kind of where that joint use comes into play, and Langley being able to support part of that mission of movement from that installation. And again, just mentioning the 2 seaports of embarkation and the routes. See that? Yeah, so just again, this is the overlap, what we oftentimes will call the overlap section when a common section road is used by more than one route, but the overlap section is primarily along I-64. Then if it's Portsmouth Marine Terminal, using the interchange with Mercury Boulevard and using 258, 17 James River Bridge, coming in and through Isle of Wight County, then making its way across into Suffolk and then over into Portsmouth via the Western Freeway when 164 to Portsmouth Marine Terminal. And then, as I mentioned before, for Newport News Marine Terminal, it's 64, 664, And then you can see where it gets down to the street network there with 26th Street, Huntington, and then wrapping around to the main gate, if you will, at the port. Newport News Marine Terminal also has an alternate point of access to support the military, primarily because it gives them a point of access here, which is a little bit closer to their staging area, as well as the vessels when they're in there to accommodate deployment activity. And then, so when it comes to the route assessments itself, you know, Doug touched on it, what we're focused on are what we call hotspots and or deficiencies. Hotspots are primarily focused on operational, you know, potential constraints when it comes to traffic and or safety, crash intensity, and then deficiencies are really the physical components that could be a hindrance or impedance to military movements. That includes sort of 4 primary categories that we focus on for those components. As I mentioned, traffic operations and congestion. So we'll use the most recent full year of traffic volume data. So in the case of our route assessments now, we're looking at 2024 traffic operations. Everything is existing conditions, or in some cases historical, but traffic operations are 2024 volumes. We look at daily and peak travel hour levels of service. For safety, we focus on crash intensity, and we'll look at historical crash data. 5-year period, we do exclude 2020 and 21 because of COVID. So we have a 5-year period of crash data that we evaluate as far as that and identify where those crash intensities occur and try to correlate, you know, is it congestion related or is there a geometric feature or some other feature along the roadway that could be a hindrance to military convoy movements. And then then we also look at pavement condition. There we receive the data from the states and just getting an idea of what the pavement type is. You know, we look at overall pavement condition. We look at roughness, depending if it's asphalt or concrete. We're taking into consideration rutting, cracking, faulting as well, and then just projecting, you know, kind of what the pavement condition is along the route, and is there anything potentially that could be of concern when it comes to the pavement. Granted, the military vehicles are, you know, they're designed to go off-road and they can go a lot of different places. Part of that component to the project when it looks at pavement condition is the pavement, is it already in a bad condition that could be a problem? And then could those conditions get worsened or be accelerated just if there's heavy usage and deployment activity using those sections of roadway? And then bridge and structure conditions, we focus on the structures that are on the route, obviously, and their capability from, you know, design loads to the overall condition. VDOT uses a bridge health index, so we take that into account. It's kind of where that bridge is in its general condition, its current state of condition, and does that present any constraints, as well as looking at its design load capability. So as you might expect, there is military equipment that's bigger, heavier, that would be using these structures, and we just want to make sure there's no potential damage, or if there, you know, is there a concern, and we coordinate with the permitting office, what might a detour need to look like if there's a structure that some of the heavier loads wouldn't be able to traverse as a part of their movement to the ports. And then we also look at vertical clearance. You know, we look at the various overpasses along the route, and looking for 16-foot is the requirement, but then it's taken into account where there may be deviations where that 16 feet isn't met, and where, you know, how close are we? We document that, take it into consideration, and if it does result in the need for a detour, we take that into account as well and incorporate that into potential future recommendations. Other route assessment considerations, we do coordinate, you know, separately with the ITS folks to get an idea of infrastructure, architecture of ITS, you know, where are the signs, where's the messaging, what are its capabilities from a camera's standpoint, detection, because you know, and some of it is to understand how could those technologies potentially be used against the military. If, you know, bad actors could use that technology against the military when large military movements, operations might be taking place. And then also the cybersecurity posture, just getting a general understanding of what cybersecurity measures have been put into place, policies and practices that state DOTs are implementing to prevent those kinds of things of bad actors using that technology against the military. And then depending on areas, in an area like Hampton Roads, We're also looking at resiliency and severe weather events, and if there are historical cases of where those types of events could impede the routes, taking that into consideration and potentially identifying mitigation measures. And then, as Doug had mentioned, a lot of collaboration and coordination. So just kind of who the points of contact are when it comes to emergency management and interagency coordination during deployment activities. They pointed out the deployment guidebook. That's a good book because it really does not only help with the notification component, it identifies what agencies should be involved, who should take points on certain, takes lead during certain points, and or what role and input those agencies might be asked to fulfill when these deployment activities are occurring. Then I mentioned oversize, overweight. We do have a separate call. We like to understand what the permitting process looks like, how the existing state defense movement coordinators are working, and then depending on the unit that we're looking at for deployment operations, giving them a sense of what those vehicles look like and what some of those oversized, overweight loads look like on the route itself. They kind of can help us vet that where there might be challenges. But then again, from a documentation standpoint and coordination, understanding the process and taking that into account. And then also we like to get a sense of the mission. And so we define the mission and understand what the mission is of the respective units that we're working with for the PPP routes, and also identify what those vehicles look like. And then for what we call sometimes affectionately as our problem children, it's those bigger, heavier pieces of equipment that can present some challenges. Understanding those and communicating that to the oversized, the permitting folks. And so essentially, just real quick, Fort Eustis mission. I mean, it's transportation, but it's all things transportation. It's road, it's rail, and it's water. These are the folks from an expeditionary standpoint will stand up a port essentially, then maintain and run that port in theater as things get going. And different places around the world, they're at the forefront of setting that up and then maintaining it from a logistics standpoint, so that the supplies are getting where they need to be. So they do have a brigade level, so 7th Transportation Brigade at Fort Eustis, and then take that down to 2 battalions. They have the 10th Transportation Battalion and the 11th Transportation Battalion. And then depending on deployment scale, it can vary, between a company size element to a battalion size element. And so this slide just gives you a general idea of what those slices of a battalion might look like at a company level and what their mission may be. And then bottom bullet is really just a general idea, description of the types of vehicles. And then next slide, what we like to typically share is what do these vehicles look like in general? What are their configurations? Yes, they're different. They're different colors, different sizes, different shapes, lots of wheels. And then this one up top here is what they call the rough terrain cargo handler. This, as it relates to Fort Eustis, would be our largest, heaviest transported pieces of equipment. And Fort Eustis shared with us, more recently that primarily that gets moved by commercial line haul. It makes things a little bit easier for them, but that's part of their movements. So that should give you just a general idea there. Doug, I don't know if you want to go ahead and turn it back over to you and cover the next steps and just share with the group where we're going from here after starting our route assessment.
Sure. Thanks, Carol. So next steps, we have a meeting set up. Well, yesterday we had a call with Fort Eustis, provided them the feedback that, Carol just kind of went over. And then tomorrow we have a call with VDOT Hampton Roads. We tried to be there in person this week, but unfortunately between weather and other issues like government shutdown, we weren't able to make it in person. So, we're able to conduct these virtual calls like we're having here with you guys. As Carol mentioned, we have a call set up with the cybersecurity folks, kind of understand, as well as the oversized, overweight. Pretty much, after that is, once we get feedback from VDOT and local road authorities, we kind of get asked them to review the draft document. If they have no issues, no problems, then we'll go into the final draft stage. of the report. So, and after that, it's really kind of what we like to do is maybe wait 6-7 months and then come back to, you know, the road authority and say, hey, you had this document, you know, what can we do next? You know, what can we program any projects, you know, for future to improve the roadway? And something else that we also like to kind of throw out to the folks is that, you know, US Transcom is headed up by a 4-star general here. And, you know, they're very active on trying to help improve the transportation networks. I will say the unfortunate part is that, you know, for Department War, you know, we're unable to provide funds for maintenance of public highway system. That is something that comes through Department of Transportation. But, you know, we like to just kind of, you know, the Transcom commander likes to send letters to, you know, state secretaries of transportation, directors, executive directors, making them aware of these routes and, you know, whatever extra, you know, support that, you know, they can help to improve, to support the military is greatly appreciated. So that's kind of pretty much next steps. Carol, is there a slide after this? Okay. I don't know time-wise how we did, but I don't know if we have time for questions or comments from the group.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. I'll open up to any quick questions we have. Oh, yeah, Desi, go ahead.
How often would you use the roads from Fort Eustis? How often do you actually deploy from there? And how big of cargoes are we talking about?
Very good question. I think we'd have to do a little research on that data, but we do make peacetime moves quite often. We had discussions with Port of Virginia. They do make it really varies year to year, especially on peace times. But you know, we do use the ports quite often to move our military equipment.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Desi. Thank you, gentlemen. If there's no more questions, we'll keep this agenda moving and we'll go on to our next item. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next item we've got is a regional freight study. Bethra, have you got? Oh, there we go, Keith. Thank you, sir. I'll turn it over to you, Bethra. Thank you.
So Keith is going to just walk through a quick couple of slides because this one was presented in June. So I'll turn it over to Keith here.
Try and mute myself. Yeah, I just wanted to share a couple slides just to discuss things that have changed since I last presented this over the summer to the TTAC. But the regional freight study, it's a resource document that we update on a regular basis, where we look at the freight movement in our region. You can see the study outline on here. I won't go into too much detail again since we've already presented this, but we really do try to take a comprehensive look at our transportation system, particularly in regards to how we move freight into and out of and throughout our region. As Pavitra mentioned, this was something that we presented to the TTAC at the time, the draft report as we had it at the time back in June. In the meantime, we did receive quite a few comments from both the Freight Transportation Advisory Committee as well as Port of Virginia staff. So over the last few months, we've been incorporating their comments into the report. And I just wanted to highlight a couple bullets here on things that changed quite a bit since we presented it back in June to the TTAC. We did add an executive summary, so summarizing the information that was included in the report. The air cargo section was greatly expanded. A lot of this was based on coordination we did with officials with Norfolk International Airport and some information they shared with the FTAC over the summer. So we thought it was really good information and wanted to make sure we included that in the report. We also greatly updated the federal funding sources section, and that was based on discussions we had with Amanda with the Federal Maritime Administration. So we wanted to make sure that that section was much more comprehensive than it had been before. And we also moved around some of the commodity flow information and moving some of that to the appendix. So with that, I just wanted to let you know the FTAC was happy with the changes we made and they approved the report at their December meeting. We did have the public review period and comments were incorporated into the study. So we included the new updated final draft version of the report with today's agenda and are hoping to go to the board here in 2 weeks to get final approval of the document. But with that, we just wanted to get the TTAC approval of the Hampton Roads Regional Freight Study document at today's meeting. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions, and if not, then hopefully get approval of the document today.
Thank you, Keith. Any questions or comments on the study document? All right. If there are none, I will, oh, yep, Chris, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment of thanks and appreciation to Keith, Sam, and HRTPO staff for the effort they put forth into this study and their willingness to listen, collaborate, and also engage with the FTAC. I think the end result reflects some of those inputs, and it's greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. If there are no other questions or comments, I will ask for a motion to approve the study document. All right, Chris, go
I'll
ahead.
make a motion to approve.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? All right, Karen?
I'll second.
Thank you. Appreciate
Okay,
that.
I missed the first. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Rob, it was Chris from the port and then Karen with HRT.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, all in favor of approving the study document?
Aye.
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 You, any opposed? All right, with that, the document approves. Keith, Vithra, good luck at the board meeting. Thank you,
All right,
guys.
thank you very much.
All right, moving along here, item 10. Dale, you ready to present on the LRTP? I know you guys had that meeting Friday. Sorry I missed it.
Don't know about ready, but hot off the presses. All right, everybody can see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. All right, so we do have a draft fiscally constrained project list for the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan. Still refining the attachments and the list itself. So hopefully you all will receive that by Friday, and we'll also post it to our website. But I wanted to present to TTAC the background that went into producing this draft fiscally constrained project list. All right, so I will be able to relax soon. We're almost done. Once we have this draft fiscally constrained list, we just move into conformity and documentation, aiming to have the board approve and adopt the 2050 by May of this year. So as you all are aware, we spent quite a bit of time collecting regional needs, over a year, almost 2 years of identifying needs from different stakeholders, looking at different studies by the TPO, comprehensive plans around the region, and then filtering those needs down to those regionally significant project needs. And when we look at the year of expenditure cost for almost 300 candidate projects that we prioritized, it totaled $85 billion. So it's a ton of money. When we look at our revenue forecast, we know that we're not going to have 85 billion. And for our LRTP subcommittee members that have seen this number, I have refined this a bit. We have identified about 18 billion for additional capacity when we account for set-asides that can't be used on roadway improvements that provide for more capacity. So a lot of money, and that's what we were using to develop our draft fiscally constrained list. This funding gap is not new. When we look back at the previous LRTPs, you can see on this slide that we quite often have a significant gap between the regionally significant needs that we have identified as part of a long-range transportation planning process and then the revenue forecasts that we can deem reasonably available over a 20-year timeline. So this makes it even more important that we prioritize our transportation needs and then select the ones that provide the most benefit for the region and reflect them in that fiscally constrained list. So high level in terms of fiscal constraint requirements, it's something that we are required to do by federal regulations. We have to demonstrate that there is sufficient funding to implement the projects those transportation improvements that we're proposing over the next 20 years. We work with the state to, and also HRTAC and some of our localities to identify those transportation revenues that we do expect to be reasonably available again through 2050. When we're looking at project costs, they must all be in year of expenditure dollars. And the prioritization scores that you all helped us develop over the past year and the board recently approved, those are a key component to us conducting fiscal constraint. And then just to put it very simply, we're looking at what is that revenue forecast over 20 years, and that revenue forecast needs to be greater than or equal to those year of expenditure project costs that we identify. And then just for some of our newer members, just reminding how this whole process works, going from project ideas to fiscal constraint. When we collected needs from our different stakeholders, we actually collected about 600 candidate projects. We do not need to evaluate all those types of projects for a long-range transportation plan. So we look at those regionally significant projects. We dwindled that down to about 300, prioritized those 300 projects, which you all saw last month. And then again, today, filtering that list even more to see what we can reasonably afford out of those 300 projects. So in terms of the revenue forecast itself, as I stated earlier, the big component comes from the state. They produce a constrained long-range revenue forecast for the entire state every year. So we are using the one that the state released in October of last year. And then we also worked with HRTAC, who takes the assumptions for our regional funds, HRTF and HRRTF, and then they build in some debt assumptions, both in terms of bond proceeds and also some debt and financing fees, which you'll see over the next few slides. So in terms of the funding sources that we work with in a long-range transportation plan, those regional funds, right, Hampton Roads Transportation Fund and the Hampton Roads Regional Transit Fund, the funding sources from the Smart Scale program, which would be high priority projects and district grant program, the NPO discretionary funds like the RSTP, CMAQ, carbon reduction program. We have another pot of other federal and state discretionary funds. This could be like some safety, some of the revenue sharing and other sources. And then also the transportation alternative set aside program. What I don't show here is also some local assumptions that we do factor in as part of the LRTP, and you'll see some of those assumptions on a later slide. So with these revenue forecasts, working with the LRTP subcommittee, we do define guiding principles for our fiscal constraint process upfront. So we've done this with several long-range transportation plans, and in May of last year, our LRTP subcommittee approved these guiding principles, just very high level. When we get our revenue forecast, it's actually a federal and state requirement that we account for maintenance and operations of existing transportation system first. So that comes right off the top. We also look at those projects that are committed, that are fully funded for construction in either the 6-year improvement program or HRTAC's 6-year funding program. Those are automatically included in the LRTP. So we take off any assumptions for those committed projects right off the top. We also do a group set aside because, again, we don't have to list every project in a long-range transportation plan, only the regionally significant ones. So we do have a set aside to account for these smaller scope projects that you will not see line item in a long-range transportation plan. We have our regional priority projects. We have our highway regional priority projects, and then transit is a 757 Express. And then for active transportation, it's our 2 major trails, Trail 757 and the Southampton Roads Trail. The roadway and the transit and active transportation were identified in 2045, and we're rolling those over into the 2050, even those that were planned because they're part of HRTAC's long-range funding program as well. So these are projects that are rolling over into the 2050. Working with the subcommittee, we also established distribution of funding to make sure that we have a mode split between highway transit and active transportation. And then within the roadways, we also split by system. So we have, using these guidelines, 35% spent on interstate, 30% allocated for primary, 10% for secondary, and 25% for urban. And then there's some other rules that our MPO board years ago have established that RSTP is not used to constrain interstate projects. And then when we have balances within these different funding pots, we'll shift them around. And basically, we do these fiscal constraint guidelines to help ensure that we're not leaving any anticipated revenues on the table. We're trying to get as many regionally significant projects in the plan as possible. And then that ultimate list is multimodal and balanced across our roadway systems and across the region. So in looking at the revenue forecast that's coming from VDOT and HRTAC, we're looking over the next 20 years at almost 42 billion. And as I mentioned, for maintenance, that has to come right off the top. So about 19 billion is reserved for traditional maintenance administration of our existing transportation system. Again, this graph is a little bit different than what I presented Friday to the subcommittee, but I've also pulled out HR tax assumptions for their debt and finance fees and maintenance and operations of the 757 Express. So that's almost 6 billion set aside for those assumptions. And so that leaves us just over 16 billion for true additional capacity improvements across the region. We break down that 16.4. Again, this is just for additional capacity improvements, and this does not include local assumptions at this point. I'm also showing that split between regional and federal, and you can see it's almost half and half. And if we were to factor in that debt service as part of our regional funds, we actually have more regional funds coming in, for some of our capacity improvements. If I further break down that 16.4, you can see across our traditional funding sources here, the regional funds make up a significant portion of funds that we can use for additional capacity, followed by district grant program, high priority projects, some other federal and state discretionary, the MPO discretionary. We have some I-64 corridor funds, and then our TAP funds. In terms of local assumptions, in working to develop the draft fiscally constrained list, the city of Virginia Beach has identified about 1.5 billion for regionally significant projects that are within Virginia Beach. So you can see here about 1.4 billion for roadway, and then 82 million for active transportation projects. Again, regionally significant projects, but within Virginia Beach's jurisdiction. And then we also have some other local funding estimates to factor into our plan, shown here, some from Newport News and Hampton for the Peninsula Bus Rapid Transit, York County for one of their projects, Chesapeake, and then the PE for the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, the Chesapeake Tunnel. So as part of our fiscal constraint guidelines, I mentioned those committed projects are taken right off the top. Again, these are projects automatically included in the plan. So that's about 2.1 billion that we also have to take right off the top for these committed projects. These would be like your HRBT, the express lanes, as some examples of the committed projects. In terms of those planned regional priority projects, I've broken them down here. These are the projects that aren't committed but will be in the 2050. So you see like the Independence Boulevard interchange, different phases of 64, 464, Bowers Hill, etc. Those total about 4.3 billion. And then our Hampton Road 757 Express is 275 million. And then we've set aside about 50 million for progress on both Trail 757 and the Southampton Roads Trail. I will note that for the roadway projects, we are not expending all that's forecasted for HRTF. And for the high priority projects fund, we still have about 2 billion that we can fiscally constrain. But we are anticipating that some of these regional priority projects for the roadway system, the costs are going to increase significantly. I'm hoping VDOT that I can get some update here before Friday so we can refine that number a little bit. And then in talking with HRTAC, they also expect maybe some additional cost increases in the spring or summer. So just to make sure that we have more than enough revenue, we're not going to touch this 2 billion until after HRTAC and VDOT can refine those cost estimates for the regional priority projects. So you will see a significant amount that we are not using yet, but we will have an amendment process later on after the 2050 is adopted to constrain any additional funds that might be available. So in terms of the remaining projects, using those prioritization scores and the fiscal constraint guidelines, basically looking at high scoring priorities, local priorities, and looking at project costs, what we could actually afford, making sure we have that representation between roadway, transit, active transportation, and then our various roadway system. And then ultimately ending up with a high quality, fiscally constrained, prioritized list that sets up a lot of our projects to be competitive for various federal and state funding programs. So we did meet with the LRTP subcommittee last Friday. They used the scores, they used these guiding principles for fiscal constraint, the year of expenditure cost estimates. To help facilitate the discussion, TPO staff did produce an initial draft funding scenario using these elements, and then presented that to the LRTP subcommittee for them to review and then start shifting priorities. If local priorities weren't reflected, or maybe a project was captured that scored well but wasn't going to progress in 5 years, there was some shifting of this initial list. And that's the list I'll be sending out to LRTP subcommittees here after this meeting with a note of everything that has changed since Friday, and then again sharing it with the broader TTAC by Friday. In summary, we have identified, as you can see here, 61 regionally significant roadway projects, an additional 27 regionally significant projects that are locally funded in Virginia Beach. We have 4 regionally significant transit projects for construction, and then 15 regionally significant active transportation projects, and then 12 regional studies for both roadway and transit projects. So in terms of fiscal constraint, when we tally up all the available revenue, even the set-asides for maintenance and finance and debt fees, what we look at accounting for all that is and the local assumptions, about 18 billion for additional capacity. And when I total up all of our set-asides, committed projects, and our planned projects, we're well under that 18 billion. You can see we have 18 billion, and we have so far expended just over 15 billion. And again, the big difference is accounting for the anticipated cost increases for our regional priority projects. In terms of the review of the draft projects, in addition to TTAC, you all will have a couple of weeks to review this list. We're also going to go to the Community Advisory Committee. We're going to have an interactive session with them to show them kind of more hands-on the trade-offs that we have to make in terms of needs versus available revenues. We will also be presenting the draft list to our Freight Transportation Advisory Committee. The public will have a 30-day review opportunity, probably starting either Friday or Monday. We will be presenting the draft list to the board at their February meeting, and then coming back to TTAC and the board in March to finalize the fiscally constrained project list so that we can start conformity. In fact, you can see here, basically February is going to be the review of the draft list with our stakeholders and the public. March, we'll have the approval items, action items from TTAC and the board, and then kick off regional conformity, which should take 2 to 3 months, and then come back to the board to adopt the 2050 in May. So for you all, again, we will provide the draft list by Friday, and then we're asking you to review it and then provide any comments you have to me by February 20th. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dale, and thank you to anyone on the subcommittee who met on Friday and put all that stuff together. That was a huge effort, so thank you guys. Any questions or comments for Dale? All right, I'm not seeing any, so thank you, Dale. We'll go ahead and keep moving along here. All right, item number 11, Kathleen, the 2730 tip draft list of projects.
Thank you, Keith. Good morning, everyone. I have no slides this morning. It's just a very quick update for you. For several months, I have been coordinating with VDOT on the draft project list for the 27 to 30 tip. And we have gone back with a couple iterations back and forth. And in order to follow the state's guidelines for conformity, we will be conducting a full joint regional conformity assessment along with the LRTP department for both the 2050 and the 2050 LRTP and the FY 2027-2030 tip in March. Therefore, we will be using the latest draft project list that we have received by VDOT, which I have reviewed. I am almost done reviewing it. And so that will go up on our website under public notices sometime mid-February for a 14-day public comment and review period. Please take a look at this. It is important that you provide any comments back to John Mahaley within this 14-day period. The draft tip document will then, after that, be created, and that will be a 30-day review period in April. And then in May, the new tip will be scheduled for board approval. It's important for TTAC members to take a look at the list, review it, and let us know your comments, because at the March TTAC, we plan to have the TTAC approve this project list. And after it is approved, there can be no changes made to it, which means any project additions or any major changes to projects that are already included would then have to wait and be a tip amendment when the new tip goes live, which will be in October of this year. And just wanted to let you know that. Please be on the lookout for the email in mid-February, in just a week or so, to go look at the draft project list on the website. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Yeah, thank you, Kathleen. Will we get an email reminder when you guys do get that posted?
Yes, we will definitely send you an email to point you right to it on the website.
Thank you, Kathleen. Pavithra.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, you heard on the long range plan, you heard from Kathleen on the tip. There are a lot of very interrelated critical deadlines. So please watch out. As Kathleen said, if you miss your project, you have to wait till October. So when the email comes out, please take an effort to review it. And if you have any questions, just because there's so many deadlines coming your way, happy to answer anything. Just reach out and we would definitely be a resource so your projects keep moving and they are not falling through the cracks. Again, I just wanted to put the plug. There are two related efforts happening. This hasn't happened in many, many years, that the long range plan and the tip is being developed at the same time. So if you see a lot of emails from us, we are trying our best to give you the information, but please do not hesitate to reach out to me or any of our staff members, and we'll be happy to help in any way.
Thank you for that, Pavithra. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you, Kathleen. Appreciate that. And we'll keep an eye out for that email and make sure everyone gets a chance to look at that later this month. All right, moving on to items, 12 and 13, because John, you've got both of them. So I'll let you take it over, sir. We got 2 action items for these next 2 items. So once we go through the list, we'll make our motions accordingly. All you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Jeff Roliski. I'm pinch hitting for John.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
Good. The Transportation Programming Subcommittee met on January 16th and made its funding recommendations for the biannual cycle of awarding for transportation alternative set-aside, TA set-aside program. Those of you with gray hair like me will remember this going back to the early 1990s, the enhancement program that was initially set up and now has evolved over time in the federal programs and subsequent transportation reauthorizations to the TI set-aside funding alternative or non-traditional type transportation projects. For the current cycle for 27 and 28, the region had about 7.2 million to allocate to TA set-aside, as well as 4 million through our Commonwealth Transportation Board representative. 15 applications were submitted and scored by the VDOT Local Assistance Division. And going through that iterative process, what was presented at the TPS committee that the CTB member originally had allocated his 4 million funds across 5 different projects, partially funding those. The way TA set aside works is unless those projects are 100% funded, they will not be added to the program, and therefore matching the CTB members' recommendations left little discretion on the local side. So their second approach was made back to the CTB member who changed his allocations to the 2 you see on the screen now, to the Trail 757 at Enview and the Suffolk Seaboard Trail, putting his $4 million allocation onto those 2 projects, 100% funding them. And therefore that left then the ability for the regional allocation to go on the priority listing on scoring. The first 3 projects listed, Route 17 Bridge Road, multi-use path, Matoka Elementary School sidewalk, and Tidewater Drive sidewalks Phase 1, fully funding those 3 projects at about 6.7 million, leaving about 444,000 in reserve. And so this is the recommendation coming out of your TPS committee for the 27-28 TA set aside allocations. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Bethra, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank VDOT. Sonia has been working with our CTB members. So taking the feedback from TPS, she was instrumental in working with our CTB member and relaying our concerns and priorities. And I think that really helped what we see on the screen today. So I just wanted to give a shout out for their work, because it was not easy to navigate the TPS comment, the CTB comment. And I think hopefully this gets at what this TPS member had raised during their last meeting. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Sonia and VDOT.
Tavia?
Hi, this is Tavia from Williamsburg, and I just wanted to thank those who worked on the TA set-aside selection process for the Trail 757 Williamsburg leg on Jamestown Road. So thank you for that.
It's a lot of good discussion, so thank you to everyone involved. I will echo Pavithra's comments. Thank you, Sonia, and the rest of the VDOT folks for coordinating with the CTB members, because I know there were plenty of comments on this stuff. So, any other questions or comments? Yep, to you. Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. If there are no other questions or comments, I'll go ahead and ask for I guess, Jeff, you need a motion to approve this and move it to the next steps?
Yes, please.
Okay. Motion to approve the selections as detailed by Jeff. Angela.
Yep, motion approved.
Thank you, ma'am. And second, Tibia. All right. Rob, you good? Okay, thank you, sir. All in favor of the transportation alternatives selections?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Selection passes, Jeff. And then I'll ask you to go ahead and roll with item 13, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Second item from the January 16th meeting was the carbon reduction program, the next round of funding for that, and that covers fiscal years 27, 28, and 29. And applications were solicited, and you see the applications that were received requesting funding across these years. Those applications totaled approximately 10.6 million, with a little over 11 million available to the region. There was some mismatch in request years and available years, so the committee worked to smooth out the funding and spreading it over multiple years where needed to make sure that we didn't exceed available allocations in any of the 3 individual fiscal years. But you see the allocated funding in the middle of that table, fully funding all the requests that were received across. And this was the recommendation from the TPS committee to bring to TTAC today for the next round of carbon reduction program funding in the region.
All right, hopefully everyone can see what's on your screen there. Are there any questions or comments for Jeff? All right, seeing none, Jeff, just need approval of this allocation as well, sir?
Correct.
All right. If I can get a motion to approve the allocations, as you guys see it here for the CRP. Amy?
Motion to approve, Amy Allowhite.
Thank you, ma'am. And second? All right, Desi? Okay, thank you, Desi. All right, and all in favor of the CRP allocations, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, allocations approved. Thank you, Jeff. All right, moving on here. Last but not least, Dr. Case, you've got our last agenda item for presentations. I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Well, so like the title says, we're going to be talking about promoting your planned road and path project using your development review process. And an example would be if you had a developer come in with a project and making some improvements to the frontage, say turn lanes and that kind of thing. You might want to try to get them to, if you had a planned path along that frontage, if you try to get them to either make room for it or even build it. And so that's the kind of thing we're talking about. The impetus was Gloucester County. They asked us to do this, to look at best practices for this kind of thing. And they had some specific questions, things like, which localities are doing this kind of thing, questions about right of way, and then, as I said, obtaining right of way from parcels as they go through the site plan or subdivision approval process. So sometimes it's right of way, sometimes it's construction. And so what we did was we polled 44 localities. So not only the Hampton Roads localities, but localities around the state, and asked them, well, how do you do this? And then we summarized that in the subject document. So here's a map showing who we contacted all over the state. This is 44, I believe, localities contacted all around the state. A concentration you see in Hampton Roads, but all around. And then when you look at the orange, that's the ones we got responses from. So they're listed over there in the right, and a pretty good spread of responses. And so we took that information, and instead of just, regurgitating it, we organized it in sections of the document. So you got a section on paths, a section on widenings, section on utilities, etc. And then further organization, and this takes a little bit of thinking, but we for a best practice, we colored the wording, believe it or not, and so to try to put some form on this kind of thing because it's complicated. So for the situation, we made purple. For the locality action, the key thing, what you need to do, we made red, and the document that you might need orange, and then the result that you're looking for in green. And so here's an example from the document pulled straight out about leaving space or building a path. And that first bullet there, it shows you that the document is the bike ped plan, so you need to get your path in there, and then you can request the developer to include the path on the site plan. And the situation would be a rezoning request. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of leverage, and then you're hoping for a proffer of the construction across the site. So that's just an example. There's lots more where that came from. And so, like I said, we compiled it in this document. Gloucester has reviewed it, and then it's available today, or will be this afternoon on our website. So you can review it and you can start using it. But we're going to ask you for recommendation next month. And then, of course, the board, as usual, will be asked to approve it for publication. So, Keith, that's all I've got. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Any questions or comments for Rob?
I don't have a question, but Rob, I just want to thank you for taking the time to pull this together. We have a lot of good ideas for our comp plan update. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Carol. It was good working on it. I like calling people out around the state for some reason. People out in the mountains, totally different environment than here.
All right. I'm not seeing any questions or comments. So Rob, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it, sir. And we'll keep on moving here to wrap this meeting up. Next few items, typical administrative stuff in their next 3-month schedule. Some items there for your information, some announcements, and then any old or new business. Vithra, kick us off here?
Yeah, I actually need to call on Keith because of on the announcements, Mr. Chair. There's something that we just want to bring to your attention. Go ahead, Keith.
Thanks. I had my hand raised too there.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention briefly, we're in the middle of our congestion management process update, and you may remember I presented part 1 of the study to the TTAC, I believe, last summer. As part of part 2, which we're working on right now, we are going to conduct a public survey to get the public's feedback on what some of their thoughts are on congestion in our region. Some of them are kind of general questions, and then others we show a map and say specifically tell us what your issues are, where they're occurring, and what your thoughts are. So this is a survey that we opened up to the public in late January. Teresa, if you can put a link to the survey in the chat, and we'll email it to the TTAC later today as well. But we opened it up in late January, and we'll have it open until right now we're aiming for about mid-March. So once we get the public survey done and all the responses tabulated, we'll come to the TTAC and share the results of that. And we'll also share some of the specific results that we get for each individual locality with locality staff. So just wanted to let you know that survey is out there. And if you want to click the link, you can check it out and take it yourself. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. Yep. And check the chat. That has been Teresa put it in there. So thank you, Teresa. Any other announcements? Oh, Sonia, yes.
I wanted to announce that I was officially named the Assistant District Administrator for Planning and Funding Management, replacing Todd Hallisey. That was effective on January the 10th. So I just wanted to share that with everyone, and thank you all. And I look forward to continuing to work with everyone and supporting this committee.
Yeah, congrats, Sonia. Very well deserved. Glad to keep working with you in that capacity. So thank you. Vithra.
The next meeting will be in person, so really wanted to thank everyone for keeping your cameras on. I know there are a lot of emails we bombarded you with, but really appreciate all of you working with us. And I want to call out the team here, Keith and everyone that had to pull and all our admin team for pulling this together. So really wanted to appreciate the team and the work that they did. So.
Yeah, I will definitely second that. You guys always make it easy. I know for me as the chair, in person or virtual. So thank you guys for that. All right. Anyone else with any announcements or new or old business to bring for the good of the committee here? All right. Seeing none. Thank you guys. Stay warm. Supposed to get some bad weather this evening, and we will see you all next month. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Keith.